Hello my friends, welcome back to the channel. Thank you ever so much for joining me for my latest review. Today I'm taking a look at Spellcaster University, which released digitally this last week. I believe it's been available on Steam for quite a while, but it is now available on consoles as well. Developers Sneaky Yak Studio were kind enough to gift me a copy of the game, and as usual I'm here to help you decide, is it worth purchasing? So, first off, what is Spellcaster University? Well, on the surface of it, you might be thinking what I was thinking, and that it is essentially Hogwarts management game. And for a lot of people, that's going to be an immediate buy for any fans of the Harry Potter series. Obviously, it's lacking the licenses and the official names and all that kind of stuff, but it's pretty much as close as we're going to get to the real thing. After spending time with the game, it's actually a bit less of a pure management game and more of a RNG roguelike style gameplay in there, so while there is a lot to manage, I like that mixing of styles and genres. I think it's very cool, and I don't really remember anything like that being done before. Now, you know me, I'm very honest, I'd call a spade, and I'm not just gonna, blow smoke up a game's arse just for the sake of it, or because I've been gifted it. For me, a management game gives you full control, and while this game does give you a large amount of control over things like where and what you build, where you put your students, what to teach them, the game's a little bit too hectic for me and a little bit too random to be called a true management game. This isn't Football Manager or Theme Hospital, anything like that, where you can take all the time in the world that you want. Because the roguelike element is always lurking, it keeps, according to the story, a dark army at your doorstep that initially you can't really do anything about. So for a while, your school will be destroyed and you'll have to start over. You have to, make your school as good as possible and get as many students to graduate as possible before moving on to a new location, starting a new school. So the sort of unpredictability of it does take away from the management side of things. That's why it's not a true management sim or anything like that. I should also mention that the game largely works around cards, so we could almost add deck builder to the ever-growing list of genres that this game has mixed into one. And as you gain points throughout gameplay, you can draw random cards that you spend those points on. You choose one of 3 randomly drawn cards, a little bit like Slay the Spire, which could be a new classroom, display item, disposable items, things to give to your students. To be honest, I found the game to be a little bit overwhelming. Like, new rooms and new items and tasks and jobs and dialogues, they come at you extremely fast and so regularly that it's a little bit tricky to get any sort of grasp of how you're actually doing in the game, how you're actually performing. I found myself a lot of the time just sort of hoping for the best. And that's not to take away from the game, as I said, it's not a proper management game. It's heavily reliant on the RNG, it's very chaotic, very text heavy. There's a lot of menus you can dive into for more statistics and information. I didn't even get around to looking into a lot of those, I will be completely honest. What I will say is that the game is definitely fun. It's definitely addictive. I sunk a few hours into it before I'd even realised. It all just happens so fast, like with new students coming in, and before you know it, they've already graduated. And while it's fun to see like what kind of profession they go into, where they move on to, the game doesn't give you much time to take it all in. And this is going to sound a bit weird, but the game's got a lot going on while also not having a lot going on at the same time. It's as complex as it is shallow. That's a bit contradictory, but it's just my opinion from the few hours that I played with the game. It doesn't seem to have many natural stopping points, checkpoints, chapters, points where you can stop and relax, take a break and come back later. It all just seems to flow seamlessly, which sounds great, but it's hard to know when to stop, and it can quite easily. It's one of those games that you could absolutely get addicted to. I think to summarise, I found it easy to get into and hard to put down, but it's not really my kind of game. I do like management, but I like pure management. Like, it absolutely nails its own brief, does what it sets out to do really well. I was expecting more of a traditional management game, but the chaos, the pacing, the non-stop flow, the RNG all combined to make it just a little bit too much. But if you were to go in, however, seeing it as a roguelike, without combat or much of a challenge, if that's what you want, you're in for a treat and you're kind of on the money. It's absolutely a good game. I'm not going to knock it. Like I always say, I'm very honest on the channel, and I'm always happy to put my hands up and say if something's just not for me, but it's still a good game. And this is absolutely still a good game. If you've got a bit more time and a bit more patience than me, there is so much to dig into, and there's so many different places to go off to and make new schools and new professions, new students to graduate. You could end up going on to create a academic empire, essentially. And you know, the game's got loads of charm. It's very cute, it's very funny, it's very it's got a lot of character to it. One other thing that I found a little bit annoying, but this might just be a personal thing for me, and I could maybe have tinkered with the settings a little bit, I find it all very dark. Even during the daytime, sometimes it's a little bit hard to tell what's going on. The rooms are very dark and dank and musky. At night time, it's nigh on impossible to tell what's going on, and you're just sort of going through the motions and waiting for the next day to start. But as I said, it's sadly just not for me. However, I think it is worth a purchase if you're into these kind of games. Even if it's just that you're super into Harry Potter, into magic and all that kind of thing, or I don't know, the 2 Point series, games like that, sort of entry level into management, because this game is very accessible. The great thing about how accessible it is that you could keep it at that level and just have it be like nice and casual, or if you're somebody who likes to really deep dive into the management side of things, there is plenty in there for you to get your hands on, basically. So, Sneaky Yak, thank you very much for the opportunity to play, review this game early. I really appreciate it. I had a really good time with it. Would I personally purchase the game? No, I wouldn't, but that is literally just me. As I've said many times here, it's a very good game, absolutely worth your time. It's not particularly expensive. It's available on all platforms now: Switch, PlayStation, Xbox, Steam. Check it out, give it a go. Let me know what your thoughts were on the game if you've already played it. I'll drop links below in the description so that you can get directly to the various storefronts and marketplaces to add it and to buy it. Once again, major shout out to Sneaky Yak. Very, very much appreciate them giving me early access. Thank you to the viewer for checking this out. Really appreciate you. If you could hit the like button, drop me a comment, let me know your thought. Hit the subscribe button. That kind of stuff means the absolute world to me, and it means I can carry on doing cool things like this and getting access to these games early for smaller developers to try and help get more eyes on their product. Thank you ever so much. Looking forward to seeing you again in the very near future. Take care.